Well, hello all and welcome back to another video teaching going along with Promises Kept, the Bible study where we're taking a look at 150 of God's promises over a 5-month period. And we're moving right along. Today we are on Promise of God number 55 found in the book of Mark. And it's one that it's kind of it's a hard one. It's a hard one because it's a promise, but it's almost like a promise that I believe is ultimately not attainable for us, because it's one of these promises that's gonna, if you do this, then you get this. And the if you do this is very hard. So let's just dive in. It's going to kind of explain itself as we go along. And it's Mark chapter 11, and the verses are 22 and 23. So I will read them. And Jesus answered them, "Have faith in God." That's the key. Verse 23, "Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him." So I am hoping you can kind of see what I'm saying here. There's that big if statement and then the then part. And the if part is the part that's troublesome. Troublesome in that it's hard to do. So the if part says, "Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him." So the if is not doubting in the heart and believes what he says will come to pass, then it will be done. So no doubting in the heart. And isn't that the hardest part? Especially when you're talking about something like, I believe that I can move this mountain into the sea. That's what this one says. In other places, it's move a mountain. It's hard. When you have something monumental in front of you, monumental, that really, in your mind, only God could do. To believe that you can do it with absolutely no doubt, that's the hard part. It's almost impossible, as I said, and that's where, yes, Jesus is promising something, but the promise is hard to attain, because how do you go up against something that just seems too big, insurmountable, and not doubt, that you will fail, that God will fail, is more what it's saying. And that's where I said the heart of the matter is verse 22, "And Jesus answered them, 'Have faith in God.'" So when coming up against something which just seems monumental, to have faith in God and have absolutely 0% doubt in your heart that God can do it and will do it. I don't, I have not achieved that, I will say, and I can imagine, if you're being honest, maybe you haven't achieved it either, that there's always that little kernel of doubt. And that, I think that's, that's the purpose of our life, to go through life and experience things and hopefully get more and more and more trust in God as we're going through, as he shows himself faithful. Maybe not in the giant things, initially, but in the little things. That, that little secret prayer that you had in your heart, the desire of your heart, all of a sudden, God makes it happen. And, I can think of a couple of examples of this in my life, and, they're small, I guess, but it builds up your faith as things like this happen. So I'll just say, like, one of the little secret desires in my heart was to become a bartender at Disney. Now, I've bartended in my past and done it a lot, all during my schooling. As many of you know, I'm a chiropractor, I'm a doctor, so even into when I was starting my first practice, I've bartended, and after even, I've bartended. And so I just had this little secret desire. I don't even know if I said it out loud to the Lord, but it was just one of these desires. I love Disney. You might have your own opinions about Disney. I have them too, believe me. But, it's just, I love the Magic Kingdom, and it's just got a little it just, in my heart, I just love it. And so I had this little desire that I would be able to bartend at Disney. Well, I live down here in Florida, and anyway, long story short, I've now had that opportunity to become a bartender at Disney, and I just, it makes me smile because it's one of these things where, God did that for me, and it was nothing that I ever really told anybody else. It was just something that I had wanted, and He gave it to me. Now, the other thing, example-wise, that I can lean on with this is the truth of when you believe in something and have absolutely no doubt that it will be granted for you. And again, kind of talking about myself, like I said, I'm a chiropractor, and I do a very specialized procedure, and a lot of my patients have very, very terrible migraines and headaches and things like that, and and other things. And I'll tell you that I have 100% confidence in the procedure that I do. Not in me necessarily, but it's a procedure that involves some technology and an instrument. And I have little to no doubt, probably no doubt, that it works, because I've seen now over 30 years of being a doctor that it works time and time again. And so this is the only experience that I have of having 100% confidence in something, and knowing that I could talk to anybody who comes to me looking for help and say to them, this procedure works, if they line up with all the criteria of me taking them as a patient. So that's the only experience I have of 100% confidence with no doubt something is going to be effective, that I say is going to be effective. So I know it's possible, and having that level of having no doubt, having 100% assurance. But again, I'll say I have not achieved it yet as far as God. He is building my trust in Him with the little things like I shared, little blessings that He throws my way, little desires of my heart. But there's many, many other things that I wish God would come through for me. I pray. And they're big things, health issues and relational issues. And as of yet, it hasn't happened. And I can only say that in those things, I have doubt in my heart. And it's hard to admit it, but I have doubt. They're big things. And, hopefully some of you can understand, when you're facing some type of health issue that people are telling you is progressive and, it's incurable, and no matter what you do, and you got to take these meds, and even with that, you want to trust God that you're going to be the miracle case that God decides to heal, and I do, and I pray for that type of thing. But it's hard to not have doubt when you hear that so many people don't have healing, So anyway, it's personal, but it's true. And, and I hope that speaks to some of you out there. God's not chastising you to say, it's because you're doubting that you're not having. That's not God's heart. It's just saying He wants you to trust Him, just like that verse 22 says. He really wants you to trust Him with all your heart. He really wants you to know how big and above everything He is, that He absolutely is the one who has made your cells and heals your cells and can heal your cells, and made relationships and can heal relationships, and all the things that you're praying for that seem that it's insurmountable, that there's just no way it's ever going to happen. God can do it, and that's what God wants through this promise, is for you to get there in your heart, that you have no doubt that He can do it for you. And that's another tricky part that, I know that I've fallen into it in my prayers. It's like, God, I know that you can do this. I just don't know that you'll do it for me. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And, you get your hopes built up, and a lot of times they're dashed in the ground. And, for that, I think this promise is good. It's a good promise when it's not used to say, you're doubting, that's why you're not getting it. But instead saying, you know what? You've got to trust in the Lord. You've got to get there. Look for the little things. Look for the little blessings, and say, God can do this. He has done things like this, and He will do this for me. And believe it, and try to just eradicate that doubt in your heart that God is able, because He is. He's able to do anything and everything. So just keep praying and keep asking. And that's the, just because it says it, that's the end of this verse. It says, verse 23, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. It's that continuing to pray and believing God's going to do this, God's going to do this, God's going to do this, and just being firm in it with no kernels of doubt. God says keep praying in that way and it will happen. So that's his instruction, and I just say just keep doing it, okay? Hang in there, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.